I really enjoyed this movie. Massimo Dallamano's What Have They Done to Your Daughters from 1974, or the Italian title La polizia chiede aiuto. Another alternate title for it was The Coed Murders. So Dallamano did the cinematography for A Fistful of Dollars and For a Few Dollars More. And then I recently watched his superb Giallo, What Have You Done to Solange from 72, I think, 2 years before this. This movie is very different. It deals with a lot of the same bleak concepts and themes and the content in the movie. There's a lot of disturbing stuff here, but this is much more of a poliziottesco film than it is a giallo. It's like a hybrid poliziottesco, which is a police crime thriller in Italy back then, and a giallo. But it's a lot more on the police procedural side because you're following the detectives. Well, you have a lead detective played by Claudio Cassinelli, who's been in so many things, Mountain of the Cannibal God, a lot of later Martino movies. He plays Silvestri, the main inspector. And then you have, I'm not sure if I've ever seen the actress, Giovanna Ralli, I think is how you say her name. Giovanna Ralli. I don't know if I've seen her in anything. I know she's been in a lot of stuff, just not in, a lot of giallo or horror films that I have seen. But she does a great job in this. Cassinelli does a great job as always. Then we have Mario Adorf, who's been in a ton of things too. I just recently saw him in a Short Night of Glass Dolls a month ago or so when I reviewed that. He was also in Bird with the Crystal Plumage by Argento. One of the other actors I just saw the other night in Aldo Lato's The Night Train Murders. I'll do a review at some point in the next few days. I didn't really care for it much. So you have a great cast. Just don't go into this movie expecting a horror movie, one, in any way, and two, really expecting a giallo in most ways. This leans, like I said, a lot more heavily into the detective side and them chasing leads and trying to figure out what happened to this 15-year-old girl who was found hanging, and they thought she committed suicide in this old building in Italy. They quickly figure out that she didn't commit suicide, she was murdered, and then moved to that old building and hung there. And the investigation leads them down this rabbit hole that exposes a child prostitution ring. And that's what I was talking about earlier with some of the content in this movie. It is disturbing. It is some taboo stuff here, especially for 1974. And at the same time, you have this person, a killer driving around on a motorcycle. I love the look of the killer. He's running around with a fucking cleaver and trying to kill and succeedingly killing a handful of people. There's not a lot of kills in this movie. It's more about the case unfolding and the mystery. Dallamano's directing is just as good here as it is in What Have You Done to Solange. The score by Stelvio Cipriani, he's done a ton of movies too, and I love his score for Mario Bava's Twitch of the Death Nerve or A Bay of Blood. He also did Barren Blood by Mario Bava. He's done a ton of movie scores over his career. His score in this, though, is fucking excellent. It's one of my favorite parts of this movie and aspects of it. There isn't a lot of gore in this movie because I said there's not too much emphasis on the killing. But when you do get a little bit of it, it's effective. Dallamano has a very restrained, bleak, but classy style to him. All the topics in this movie and the whole premise of exposing a underage child, prostitution ring, he handles it very maturely, very well. It doesn't feel like straight up exploitation. So it doesn't feel like a lot of other films like this at the time where it feels a lot more grimy, it feels a lot more purposeful in shocking you and showing you a lot more just for exploitative purposes. This actually feels restrained and subtle and nuanced. It's not really in your face, and it deals with a lot of, good themes as well as the movie and the mystery goes on, and you find out that very important people, influential people, political figures are involved in this sex ring, in this child prostitution ring. It hits close to reality, just like the events of What Have You Done to Solange. These fucking titles, man, and names, it's all over the place. But both are very bleak movies that revolve around very dark premises that are handled extremely well. So, I mean, everything I enjoyed in this. There wasn't really any negatives for me. I think this is an excellent movie. Again, if you go into it as a horror fan, you're gonna probably be vastly disappointed. If you're a big Giallo fan, just be wary that it's not nearly as close to a typical Giallo popularized by Argento with Bird with the Crystal Plumage, where it focuses on a character trying to solve a mystery, who the killer is. The reveal of who the killer is in this movie doesn't really even matter. It's not the point. And if you've seen the movie, you know what I mean. It could be basically, I don't want to say too much, but it doesn't rely on the mystery. It doesn't rely on the murders. It's much more of a crime thriller. So if you go into it with that mindset, you may enjoy it because it's a very well directed, very well edited, very well shot, great cinematography, sound design. The score is excellent. The acting and the performances are very good. Dubbing, like usual, I don't really even notice it anymore at this point after watching so many of these movies. But there was a few instances where I said, that was kind of like bad with that line and how they dubbed it, not syncing up at all with what their mouths were doing, but not enough that it takes you out of the movie. It's only a select few lines of dialogue that I noticed throughout the movie. But you also get a cool chase sequence with the police chasing the killer on the motorcycle. Again, I love the look of the killer. Reminds me of, and this came much later, Umberto Lenzi, even though it's debated how much he directed of it, his movie Nightmare Beach, or Welcome to Spring Break, which I love that movie from '89. The look of the killer here reminded me of the motorcycle killer in that movie. I wonder if he was inspired by this. But have you seen What Have They Done to Your Daughters from 1974, or The Coed Murders, or La Polizia, Chiede, Aiuto? Nailed it. If you have, leave your thoughts below. If you haven't, it is currently on Tubi, and I'm sure it's on Prime or some extension on there.